All right, let's get some discussion going already. This is going to be one of those questions that everybody should be able to answer. So let's get right to it. Here's your question. When you were a little kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Why? Has that changed? Ready, go. So all this talk about world changers, it's almost like I'm expecting you to be a world changer, like Jesus is expecting you to be a world changer. And guess what? That's exactly what we're expecting because we think that's what you should be. And I can almost hear some of you protesting, why me? I'm just a kid. I'm not ready to change the world. Maybe when I grow up, maybe then I'll change the world. This can be a handy excuse. You might be able to skate through life if nobody ever expects anything of you, especially because, I'm just a teenager. Nobody expects anything out of teenagers, right? Well, it's time to start thinking differently about this. And it's because this is true. I strongly believe this. You right now, are in the best position to change the world. Now, I don't know if you already know this, but Jesus' disciples, they were pretty young. In fact, most people believe that Jesus' 12 disciples, those guys he had closest to him, were all teenagers. They were at least 13 because 13 was the time in the Jewish tradition when a boy became a man, started taking on sort of manly responsibilities and expectations. So we don't know the exact age of Jesus' disciples. But I want you to think about this. When Jesus started to recruit world changers, he recruited young people, not old people like me, young people like you. Paul must have noticed something similar to this because he said this to his young protege named Timothy. He said, "Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity." Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young. That sounds like the opposite of when I grow up. It's time to stop saying, but I'm just a kid, and start believing that God has already given you everything you need to be a world changer right now. Now, nobody is suggesting that you are going to change the world by yourself. We talked about the world being this gigantic place with 7 billion people in it. And then we zoomed in on our little part of the world, and that's what I want you to do now. Instead of thinking of the world globally right now, I want you to zoom in and think of our little part of the world. And that makes me ask the big question for tonight. Who is in the best position to change your part of the world? Now think about it. Not only are you the only you in the world, but you're also the only person in the world who has your set of relationships, family and friends and classmates and teammates and all of that. Your position in the world is unique to you. Do this with me for just a second. Let's walk through a typical day. Think about when you first wake up. Now you can close your eyes if it'll help you picture this. Think about when you first wake up. Where are you? Who's in this part of the world with you? Is it your family, brothers, sisters, parents, grandparents? Just think about those people for a moment. Now let's move on to school. If you're homeschooled, this might not look like a typical day to you, but most of you have this kind of pattern for school. So think about when you walk through the door of the school at the beginning of the day. Who's there when you walk through the door? In your first class of the day, who's your teacher? Who do you sit next to? Who's in your section? Now the bell rings and you go into the hall. Who do you see in the hallway? Who do you talk to? Who do you wave at or smile at in the hallway? Now picture yourself in second period. Same thing. Who's teaching? Who are you sitting by? Let's go ahead and skip to lunchtime. I know a lot of you sit at the same table every day for lunch with the same people. Think about those people. Who are those people? Now you could do the same for all of your afternoon classes, of course, but for now we're going to skip to after school. Many of you are going to say to track practice or softball practice. Who's there? Who are your coaches? Who are your teammates? Maybe even it's game day or a track meet day. Who has come to watch you compete? Who are your opponents? These people make up your part of the world. Only you, God has uniquely put you in this position in the world. So before we leave this idea behind, I just want you to take 1 minute. In fact, we'll put 1 minute exactly on this. And so just pop up and talk about this in your groups for just a second. Who are the people in your world? Go quick. So that brings us back to the big question. Who's in the best position to change your part of the world? It's you. You're the only person with this exact set of circumstances and relationships, from friends and family to teachers and classmates and coaches and teammates. I cannot change your world. Your mom cannot change your world. Who's in the best position to change your part of the world? It's you. Here's another truth about changing the world. You are already changing the world. See, it's not really a question of if you're going to change the world. You already are changing the world. It's happening every day. Every day you get up and your world is different because you are in it. You go to school and school is different because you are there. You go to track practice and the track team is different because you're on the track team. If you were not in those places, your world would be different because you were not there. You're already changing the world. So here's the question then. Are you changing your world for better or for worse? Are you making any positive impact on your world, or are you just coasting along and letting everybody else change the world around you? I want you to hear from somebody else for just a minute here. I'm not sure if this guy is a Christian or not. It's actually not even for me to say. I don't have him up on the screen here because he's going to talk to you about Jesus. I have him up on the screen because I want you to see someone who's not using the excuse of, but I'm just a kid. So watch this for just a second.
20 things we should say more often. Number 20, thank you. And not just on Thanksgiving, every day. Number 19, excuse me. Number 18, here's a surprise corn dog that I bought you because you're my friend. There'll be more corn dogs and more happy people. This is a good idea. Corn dog for you, corn dog for you, corn dog for you. Number 17, I'm sorry. Number 16, I forgive you. Number 15, you can do it! But don't say it if it's something they can't do. Number 14, another thing that we should say more often, I have barbecue sauce in my shirt too. Before you say something about the barbecue sauce on somebody else's shirt, take a look at the barbecue sauce on your own shirt. Number 13, please. Number 12, everything is going to be okay. Number 11, oh, you got me a corn dog too? You shouldn't have, buddy. Number 10, I don't know. I know a lot of people who need to say that. My sister. Number 9, you're so awesome I named my dog after you. Wait. That could hurt someone's feelings. I mean boat. I named my boat after you. Wait, who even had the boat? You're so awesome, I legally changed my name to yours. Wait, that's super creepy. Just tell people they're awesome and mean it. Number 8, Hello, person that I never met before. Here's a high five. Number 7. My sports team is not always the best sports team. It takes a big man to say that. Number 6. Nothing. Sometimes that's the best thing you can say. Number 5. Doesn't mean anything, but it's just really funny. Number 4. I disagree with you, but I still like you as a person who is a human being, and I'll treat you like that. Because if I didn't, it would make everything bad, and that's what lots of people do, and it's lame. Whew, I need a water break, y'all. It's okay to disagree, but it's not okay to be mean. Number 3. Sometimes you just gotta scream. Number 2. Life is tough, but so are you. Sometimes we all need to be reminded to keep going. Number 1. Something nice. Anything. If you can't think of anything nice to say, you're not thinking hard enough. So what about you? What do you think people should say more often? Leave a comment below and let's hear it. Oh, and I got a bonus one for you. Something that we should say more often? Let's dance.
Okay, now, let's look at our verse one more time from 1 Timothy chapter 4. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. Tonight, I want to give you a real concrete suggestion, something you can actually do. You see, I've been at your schools in the morning when they do announcements. After the pledges, there's a moment of silence. Now, the original intent, of course, of this moment of silence is that this would be the time when you would pray. And I know many of you do use that moment of silence just to pray. And this is good. Sometimes you pray, God, I just need you to help me make it through the day. Sometimes you pray because you're worried about a test that you're going to take. But here's what I want to challenge you with. What if every Christian at your school used that moment of silence to ask a question of God, to ask this question: God, how do you want to use me to change my world today? If you prayed that during the moment of silence, what do you think God would bring to mind? How do you think you might see your world differently? How might you see the people in your world differently? Do you think that God might actually use you to change your part of the world just because you asked him? So here's my challenge to you. Let's do this every day this week at school. After the pledges, when they say, and now for a moment of silence, however they say it, just ask God this simple question: God, how do you want to use me to change my world today? And then just be silent and allow God to bring some things into your mind. You can do this. We can do this. You might be just a kid, but you are already, right now, a world changer.